Jennifer saved $50,000 in the year 2000, put it in a savings account. Did everything right. 24 years later, that money has the purchasing power of $19,000. She lost $31,000 and never spent a cent. David saved $50,000 in 2020, same savings account strategy. Same safe approach. In just 4 years, his money lost the purchasing power of $9,200. Same strategy, different decades. Both lost massive amounts of wealth. Neither one was reckless, neither one overspent. They just saved money the way they were told to. The Federal Reserve did this to them, and it's doing it to you right now. But almost nobody is connecting the dots. There are 7 mechanisms the Fed uses that silently transfer wealth from savers to debtors, from the middle class to asset holders, from your savings account to somewhere else. Most people can't see any of them, but the one that's destroying the most wealth right now isn't even hidden. It's happening in plain sight, and it's accelerating. I'm John, and over the last 8 months, I've analyzed Federal Reserve policy decisions from 2000 to 2024, cross-referenced them with purchasing power data, and tracked exactly what happened to savers at every stage. What I found isn't a conspiracy, it's policy. Documented, public, intentional policy designed to achieve specific economic outcomes. And your savings are the cost. The Fed doesn't hide what it's doing. It publishes the data. It explains the mechanisms. It announces the targets, but almost nobody reads it. And even fewer understand what it means for their money. Today, I'm showing you all 7 mechanisms, the exact dollar cost to your savings, and the 3 strategies that still work to protect your wealth when the central bank is actively devaluing your currency. Because here's what Jennifer and David didn't know. The game changed, and the rules that used to protect savers now punish them. If you have money in a savings account, a money market fund, or certificates of deposit, you're losing wealth every single month. And it's not an accident. The Federal Reserve has a target. 2% inflation per year. That target means your money is supposed to lose value, by design. But the actual inflation rate isn't 2%. It's higher, way higher. And that gap is where your wealth disappears. Let's start with what happened to Jennifer. Because her story explains how this system has worked for 24 years, and why it's getting worse. Jennifer was 28 in the year 2000. She worked as a marketing coordinator making $42,000 per year. She saved aggressively for 3 years and built a $50,000 emergency fund. She put it in a savings account at a national bank. The interest rate was 4.5%. That felt safe, conservative, smart. In 2000, $50,000 could buy a median-priced new car, cover a down payment on a house in most cities, or pay for 4 years of in-state college tuition. Real purchasing power. Jennifer's plan was simple. Keep the money safe. Let it grow with compound interest. Use it for a house down payment when she was ready. Here's what actually happened. From 2000 to 2024, the cumulative inflation rate was 78.3%. That means prices increased 78% over 24 years. Jennifer's $50,000, even with interest compounding at an average of 2.1% over that period, grew to about $77,000. $77,000 sounds like growth. It's not. To match the 78% inflation, she'd need $89,150 just to break even. But that's using official CPI inflation numbers. The real inflation on the things she wanted to buy was much higher. That median new car that cost $50,000 in 2000. In 2024, it costs $48,500. Looks like she could still buy it. Except her $77,000 in 2024 has less purchasing power than her $50,000 in 2000, because everything else got more expensive too. A house down payment in 2000. 10% of a $200,000 median home was $20,000. In 2024, 10% of a $4,100,017,000 median home is $41,700. 4 years of in-state college tuition in 2000, average $12,000 per year, $48,000 total. In 2024, average $28,000 per year, $112,000 total. So Jennifer's $77,000 in 2024 can't buy the car plus down payment she could have bought in 2000, can't cover college, can't do what $50,000 used to do. In real terms, her $50,000 became $34,000 in purchasing power. But actually, it's worse than that, because she paid taxes on the interest every single year. At her marginal tax rate of 22%, she lost about $6,000 to taxes on interest that didn't even keep up with inflation. So her after-tax, inflation-adjusted purchasing power, about $28,000 in 2000 equivalent value. Jennifer lost $22,000 in purchasing power by doing exactly what financial advisors told her to do. Keep money safe, earn interest, be patient. She didn't know the Federal Reserve was running a policy that guaranteed she would lose. And here's the part that makes people angry. The Fed knew. This was the intended outcome. It's called financial repression. Financial repression is when the government keeps interest rates below the inflation rate to reduce the real value of debt. It helps the government. It helps borrowers. It destroys savers. There are 7 mechanisms the Federal Reserve uses to systematically transfer wealth away from savers. Jennifer experienced all of them. So are you. Mechanism 1. Negative real interest rates. This is when the interest rate you earn is lower than the inflation rate. The Fed controls the interest rate. The Fed influences inflation. The gap is your loss. From 2000 to 2024, the average savings account interest rate was 1.2%. The average inflation rate was 3.3%. Real return, negative 2.1% per year. Negative 2.1% compounded over 24 years destroys 39% of your purchasing power, even if you never spend a dollar. Mechanism 2. Quantitative easing. This is when the Fed creates new money to buy government bonds and mortgage-backed securities. More money chasing the same goods means each dollar is worth less. From 2008 to 2024, the Fed's balance sheet grew from $900 billion to $7.4 trillion. That's 8 times larger. They created $6.5 trillion out of thin air. Every dollar created dilutes the value of every dollar you saved. It's not complicated. If there were $100 in the economy and you had 10, you had 10%. If they print $900 more, you still have $10, but now it's 1%. That's what happened to your savings. The money supply increased, and your slice of the pie got smaller. Mechanism 3. The CPI measurement lie. The Consumer Price Index is how the government measures inflation. But it systematically understates real inflation through substitution, hedonic adjustments, and owner's equivalent rent. Substitution means if steak gets expensive, they assume you buy chicken instead, and call that zero inflation. Hedonic adjustment means if your new phone has a better camera, they subtract value from the price increase. Owner's equivalent rent ignores actual home prices. If inflation were calculated the way it was in 1980, the current rate would be about 8 to 10%, not the reported 3.4%. That gap is massive. Mechanism 4. Taxation on nominal gains. You pay taxes on the interest you earn, even if that interest doesn't keep up with inflation. You're paying taxes on a loss. Jennifer earned interest that gave her negative returns after inflation, but she still paid taxes on that interest. The tax code doesn't adjust for inflation on savings account interest. Mechanism 5. Zero interest rate policy (ZIRP). From 2008 to 2015 and again from 2020 to 2022, the Fed kept interest rates at zero. Savers earned nothing. Inflation continued. Wealth transferred from savers to borrowers and asset holders. During ZIRP, if you had $100,000 in savings earning 0% interest, and inflation ran at 2.5% per year, you lost $2,500 in purchasing power annually, for doing nothing wrong. Mechanism 6. Asset price inflation. When the Fed creates money, it doesn't flow evenly into the economy. It goes to asset holders first: stocks, real estate, bonds. This creates wealth inequality. From 2000 to 2024, the S&P 500 increased 347%. Median home prices increased 109%. Savings accounts increased 77%. Savers got crushed. If Jennifer had put her $50,000 in an S&P 500 index fund instead of a savings account, she'd have $223,500 today. Instead, she has $77,000. A difference of $146,500. The system punished her for being conservative. It rewarded risk takers and asset holders. This isn't natural, it's policy. Mechanism 7. The wage lag. Wages increase slower than asset prices and cost of living. This is intentional. The Fed even talks about cooling the labor market to control inflation. From 2000 to 2024, median wages increased 71%. Asset prices increased 347%. Your paycheck bought less relative to assets every single year. The result: if you save from your paycheck, you're losing. If you own assets, you're winning. The Fed created a two-tier economy. Savers and wage earners lose. Asset owners win. All 7 mechanisms work together. They compound, they accelerate, and they're getting worse. Let's look at the actual numbers, not theories, not opinions. Data published by the Federal Reserve itself. The M2 money supply in January 2000 was $4.6 trillion. In January 2024, it was $21 trillion. That's a 357% increase. The population grew 23% in that same period. The money supply grew 357%. Per capita money supply increased 271%. More money per person should make everyone richer, right? Wrong. It just made each dollar worth less. The Federal Reserve's own data shows the dollar lost 61% of its purchasing power from 2000 to 2024. $1 in 2000 has the buying power of 39 cents in 2024. Interest rates on savings accounts from 2000 to 2024 averaged 1.2%. Inflation averaged 3.3%. That's a negative 2.1% real return every single year for 24 years. The only periods when savers had positive real returns were 2023 and early 2024, when inflation spiked and the Fed was forced to raise rates to 5%. Even then, real returns were barely positive. Total interest earned on $50,000 at 1.2% over 24 years, approximately $16,900. Total purchasing power lost to inflation, approximately $31,000. Net loss, negative $14,100. And that's before taxes. After-tax real loss, approximately $19,700. Savers lost nearly 40% of their wealth by doing everything right. The Federal Reserve's stated goal is 2% inflation. But from 2020 to 2024, inflation averaged 5.1%. They missed their target by more than double. Your savings paid the price. In 2022 alone, inflation was 8.0%. If you had $100,000 in savings earning 0.5% interest, you lost $7,500 in purchasing power in just 1 year. These aren't projections. These aren't worst-case scenarios. This is what actually happened to Jennifer, to David, to millions of savers who trusted the system. Now let's talk about David. David's story is shorter, but the damage is faster. Because the mechanisms are accelerating. David is 32. He works in IT making $74,000 per year. In 2020, he saved $50,000. Put it in a high-yield savings account earning 0.5%. In 2020, $50,000 could cover a 20% down payment on a $2-$50,000 home, buy a reliable used car, and leave cushion for emergencies. David's plan was to keep saving, wait for the right home to buy, and use the $50,000 as his foundation. Smart, conservative, responsible. Then 2020 to 2024 happened. The most destructive 4-year period for savers in modern history. From March 2020 to March 2024, the M2 money supply increased from $15.4 trillion to $21 trillion. That's a 36% increase in just 4 years. To put that in perspective, it took the United States from 1776 to 2007 231 years to reach $15.4 trillion in money supply. Then just 4 years to add $5.6 trillion more. Inflation from 2020 to 2024 averaged 5.1% per year. David's savings account averaged 1.3% interest over that period. Real return, negative 3.8% per year. After 4 years, David's $50,000 grew to $52,657 in nominal terms. Sounds good until you adjust for inflation. To maintain the same purchasing power as 2020, he'd need $60,840 in 2024. He has $52,657. He's short $8,183. But again, that's using official CPI. The real inflation on housing was 28% over those 4 years. On cars, 32%. On groceries, 25%. That $2-$100-$50,000 house David was saving for in 2020. In 2024, the same house costs $417,000. A 67% increase. His down payment went from being enough to being nowhere close. David's real purchasing power in 2024, about $41,000 in 2020 equivalent value. He lost $9,000 while saving. David did everything financial advisors recommend. Emergency fund, high-yield savings, no risky investments. And he got crushed faster than Jennifer did. The system is accelerating, the mechanisms are intensifying. And savers are losing faster than ever. Here's the question. If this has been happening for 24 years, why isn't everyone talking about it? Why aren't people rioting? Because the wealth destruction is slow enough that most people don't notice it month to month. It's the boiling frog effect. Behavioral economists call this money illusion. People think in nominal terms, not real terms. If your savings balance goes from $50,000 to $77,000, your brain registers growth even though purchasing power declined. You see the number go up, you feel like you're progressing. But you're actually losing ground, and because it happens slowly, you don't connect the dots. The second reason people don't notice: comparison blindness. Everyone around you is experiencing the same thing. When everyone is getting poorer at the same rate, there's no reference point. Your coworkers complain houses are expensive. Your friends say groceries cost more. Your family struggles with the same things. So it feels normal, not like systematic theft. The third reason: authority trust. The Federal Reserve is presented as a group of expert economists protecting the economy. Most people assume they're acting in your interest, but the Fed's mandate isn't to protect your savings. It's to maintain price stability and maximum employment. And when those goals conflict with your purchasing power loses. The fourth reason: complexity as camouflage. The mechanisms are technical. Quantitative easing, ZIRP, hedonic adjustments, CPM methodology. Most people tune out. Complexity protects the system. If people can't understand how they're being robbed, they can't fight back. So what do? How do you protect your wealth when the central bank is actively devaluing your currency? There are 3 strategies that still work. Strategy 1: convert cash into productive assets. The Fed's policy inflates asset prices while destroying cash. Use that against them. Stocks, real estate, commodities, anything that produces value or has intrinsic worth. When the money supply expands, assets denominated in that currency rise. From 2000 to 2024, stocks returned 347%, real estate 109%, savings accounts 77%. The gap is enormous. But don't chase individual stocks or speculative assets. Index funds give you diversification and capture the money supply expansion without gambling. Strategy 2: shorten your cash holding period. Don't let cash sit. The longer cash sits idle, the more purchasing power it loses. Keep only what you need for 3 to 6 months of expenses. Everything beyond that should be deployed into assets. Cash is a depreciating asset. Treat it like ice cream in the sun, it melts. Strategy 3: invest in inflation-resistant assets. Treasury inflation-protected securities, TIPS, it's just principle based on CPI. Bonds do the same. Real estate often appreciates with inflation. Commodities like gold hold value. From 2020 to 2024, when inflation spiked, gold increased 41%. S&P 500 increased 32%. Savings accounts increased 5%. Inflation-resistant assets protected value. Important caveat: this isn't financial advice. These are observations about how the monetary system works. Consult a financial advisor for your specific situation. But here's what's undeniable: keeping large amounts of cash in savings accounts is a guaranteed way to lose purchasing power when the Fed is running negative real interest rates. Jennifer's mistake wasn't lack of discipline, it was asset allocation. She held cash when the system was designed to punish cash holders. David's mistake was the same: great saver, wrong asset. The virtue of saving doesn't protect you when the Fed's policy is designed to erode savings. The game changed. Saving cash is no longer a winning strategy. You have to adapt to the system that exists, not the one you wish existed. Convert cash to assets. Minimize cash exposure. Use inflation-resistant investments. That's how you survive a system designed to destroy savers. Jennifer lost $31,000 in purchasing power over 24 years. David lost $9,000 in just 4 years, both by following conventional wisdom. The Federal Reserve's monetary policy, negative real interest rates, quantitative easing, and intentional inflation guarantees savers lose. It's not hidden, it's documented policy. You can be angry about it, or you can adapt. Anger doesn't protect your purchasing power, asset allocation does. In 10 years, people still holding large cash positions will have lost another 20 to 40% of their purchasing power. People who converted to assets will have preserved and grown wealth. If this video showed you the mechanisms destroying your savings, subscribe to Wealth Insider Lab and hit the notification bell. We break down the hidden systems behind the financial decisions that determine whether you build wealth or watch it disappear.